Huawei praised the camera system in the Vivo X100 Ultra's review and also said that its telephoto camera is the best in the world. I know some of you here must be unconvinced. Well, it's really hard to convince people of the X100 Ultra's capability without rivals. That's why we spent a lot of money to get the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra back again. While I couldn't guarantee that the X100 Ultra can beat it, but the comparison will give us the idea of where Vivo's flagship phone is really good at and where it needs to improve. The camera specs of both phones are as shown on the screen. The sensor for each camera of Vivo is a bit bigger than that of Samsung, but Samsung is not without any advantages. Because of the smaller sensors, the space saved allows it to cram in one more camera. Obviously, Samsung's focal length coverage will be wider. Specs don't mean everything. Now let's dive into the special points while looking at the sample photos. The color styles of the two phones are a little bit alike, but not exactly the same. They both tend to have a highly saturated color tone, with each photo coming out more vibrant than it looks. But the difference is that the Samsung's HDR intensity is stronger and exposure is sometimes low, while result in a flat look. Vivo's contrast is higher, so everything looks more three-dimensional. Not only the main camera, but the rest of the cameras is the same style. Personally, I certainly prefer Vivo's photos. Samsung's photo is a bit boring. Although the S24 Ultra's main camera is 200 megapixel, the default photos are taken at 12 megapixel and the sharpness doesn't look much different from the X100 Ultras. Same thing happens at night. The Vivo sensor is a bit bigger, but not much better. With the help of Z coating, chromatic aberration is also absent on the Vivo. The S24 Ultra still has some purple fringing issue at times. The Z doesn't always help though. My advice is to try not to shoot into the light or you will find UFOs everywhere. Overall, the difference between the two phones' main camera is not that big. Maybe there are some scenes where the Vivo is slightly ahead in image quality around the edges, but Samsung can take 200 megapixel photos, a feature that Vivo doesn't have. I would say it's a tie. While the X100 Ultra's ultra-wide camera looks like it will be more impressive, the difference is actually not as big as you would expect. Even in high-frequency detail, the S24 Ultra with sharpening looks sharper. The X100 Ultra always felt like the leaves were all mushy. Of course, the purple fringing issue is still there, but in terms of overall effect, I still prefer the Samsung's clear and sharp images. At night, it's the X100 Ultra's home game. The trees are more accurately colored and the image quality of the edge is better. This shot was taken in very low light, and with a little more light, the difference becomes barely noticeable again. Like the main camera, I can only say that their ultra-wide angle cameras are also in the same league. Before we get to the real telephoto camera competition, let's have an unfair matchup. We all know that S24 Ultra has a 3x telephoto camera, while the X100 Ultra only has a 3.7x telephoto camera. So in fact, if we compare them with the same 3x photos, the Vivo is actually challenging Samsung optical telephoto camera with a main camera crop. Theoretically, Vivo will lose, but in reality, it does not. I've blocked out the watermark, so can you tell which one is cropped photo from Vivo's main camera and which one is from Samsung's optical telephoto camera? Even look at it after zoomed in, you'd be hard-pressed to say which one is better. The answer is that the one with more noise and better clarity is taken by the Samsung, while the Vivo slightly loses out to the S24 Ultra in terms of sharpness. It's not as big as of a gap as you thought it would be, right? Of course, the difference is small only when the lighting is good. In poor light, the X100 Ultra's 1-inch main camera can't do much. That's why Samsung keeps the 3x telephoto camera. If you're willing to shoot with a 3.7x optical telephoto camera, then the X100 Ultra's image quality will be ahead of the S24 Ultra across the board, both in terms of sharpness and noise control. So what about the 5x telephoto? The Samsung's other optical telephoto camera seems to have the same problem we just mentioned. Sharpness of daytime photos is a tie with the Vivo's. I'm not lying, this world's #1 telephoto camera from Vivo can really do a job comparable to a 5x optical zoom camera. Do you think the X100 Ultra's 5x zoom gets blurry at night? No, it doesn't. There are even some scenes where it outperforms Samsung. Unbelievable. Sometimes the noise reduction algorithm makes it a little less sharp, but I'm still very happy with the image quality. Both of them have macro mode, both are pretty good, but the Vivo's is clearly the better one, both in terms of image quality and depth of field. The macro photo count on the telephoto camera on Vivo is much better than the ultra-wide camera from the Samsung. Since the S24 Ultra must get very close to the subject, it blocks some of the light, then the image quality will be worse. Portrait mode on S24 Ultra has the same old problem. The HDR is too strong, making faces look darker. The amount of pixels in the 3x telephoto camera is too low, also causing it to be not as sharp as VIVO's, and the keying has some room for improvement. Coming to the front camera, no more need to say anything about the X100 Ultra. The skin tones are accurate and the HDR is even stronger than the S24 Ultra. Plus, the JN1 was used at this time, so there's no doubt that it's the best selfie camera from VIVO so far. Although there are some differences in the photos, the video capability is almost the same, other than the same color tendencies, one with a lower contrast and one with a higher contrast. Other than that, you can see that as long as the environment is bright enough, they just can't beat each other, both in terms of image quality and stabilization. The only exception is the recording by main camera at night, because the X100 Ultra has a larger sensor and also has a gimbal-like anti-shake structure. The clarity and stabilization capability are much better than the S24 Ultra. The playability of the camera is definitely something VIVO does better. Those of you who have seen our X100 Ultra's review will know that it has a brand new mode to quickly address various parameters. If you don't like the overly saturated color mode, there are 3 other modes that you can choose from. The Samsung S24 Ultra is a bit boring and hasn't even added a very useful feature like a long exposure yet. The only good thing Samsung has is that the S Pen doubles as a shutter remote. During my testing, I realized that the conditions for activating the night mode on S24 Ultra are quite harsh. You need to manually turn on night mode to get a photo with less noise. I have to say, it's not Samsung's camera experience that bad, rather the Chinese brands are just too versatile. And one thing to note is that the S24 Ultra is just too wide. With the case on, you will have a much better time taking a picture with one hand. Thank God I put a shockproof phone case on it. If you don't want to break your S24 Ultra like that, you can try the case I'm using right now. This case from Dexnor, just like the rugged phone we reviewed before, it wraps the entire phone in hard rubber, preventing damage to your phone from drops. If you don't have a film applied on your phone, there's also a front panel with a built-in PET screen protector that can be replaced. The fingerprint recognition errors has a special treatment that will not affect the recognition speed. It comes in 3 colors to choose from, and this purple one matches my S24 Ultra quite well. In addition to being drop-proof, it has many other features. For example, you can turn this kickstand on so that you can stand your phone up. There are also magnets built in where the wireless charging coils are, so that your magnet charging dock can charge not only iPhones, but Samsungs as well. The details of Dexnor are well designed, all the buttons are protected, and the case is above the lens. And the cutouts are very precise. The speaker, microphone, and S Pen are not blocked in any way. In particular, the cutout for the charging port is very large, that can match with all charging cables. I plugged in the largest USB-C port charging cable I own and it doesn't get blocked. Very detailed design. There are actually a lot of versatile shockproof cases like this on Amazon, but only Dexnor does that perfect case in my mind. Don't forget to check the link below the video if you like it. Now let's get back to business. Through these 2 flagship phone photos, I found out that they have different understandings of flagship phones. VIVO believes that every camera of a flagship phone has to be the best. That's why other brands can put down 4 cameras on their phones, but the X100 Ultra can only put down 3 because of its large sensor. Samsung believes that each camera on a flagship phone doesn't have to be the best, but the focal length must be wide. To get a satisfying photo at any telephoto range, they kept this 3x optical telephoto camera for 3 years. Enough words from me, and now you should know which phone is right for you. I'm Will from Gizmochina. We'll see you next time.